I only left the hospital for 1 hour. When I came back, my older sister was leaving with papers under her arm. I asked what she signed. She smiled and said, "Don't worry. Dad gave me everything." My father was 3 rooms away, lying in a hospital bed after a stroke so severe he could barely move his mouth. I had been awake for almost 2 days, sleeping in a chair beside him and waking every time a monitor beeped. So when my sister said that, I just stood there with a plastic bag of clean clothes in one hand and a cup of coffee in the other. "What do you mean, everything?" I asked. Jennifer tilted her head like I was making a scene. "Relax, Amy. It's just paperwork. Someone had to handle things." Then she tucked the folder tighter under her arm and walked toward the elevators. I should have followed her. I should have asked a nurse what happened. I should have demanded to know exactly what my father had signed while I was gone. But I didn't. Because at that moment, I still believed there were lines even Jennifer wouldn't cross. My father, Robert, had suffered a hemorrhagic stroke on a Tuesday evening. One minute, he was sitting at his kitchen table watching the news. The next, he was on the floor, unable to speak, unable to call for help, his body failing him without warning. By the time the ambulance got him to Mercy Lakes Medical Center, everything had already changed. The doctors used careful words. Serious. Extensive. Uncertain recovery. Cognitive impairment. I heard them, but I didn't accept them. Not at first. To me, he was still Dad. He was the man who taught me how to check my oil, how to balance a budget, and how to never trust anyone who smiled too much while asking for money. He had spent most of his life teaching history to students who probably didn't appreciate him until they were older. He was steady, careful, quietly kind. And suddenly, he couldn't ask for water. I stayed by his bed as much as I could. I held his hand when he woke up confused. I wiped his chin when he drooled. I learned which sounds meant he was uncomfortable, which sounds meant he was frightened, and which nurses needed to be reminded twice. Jennifer came in and out. She cried when people were watching. She hugged me in the hallway and whispered, "We'll get through this." For a little while, I believed her. Jennifer had always known how to become whatever the room wanted. If relatives wanted a golden child, she was perfect. If strangers wanted charm, she was warm. If people in suits wanted confidence, she became a businesswoman with a dream and a clean smile. I used to envy that. Then I learned what it could hide. The day she brought those papers, a nurse named Stephanie had gently told me to go home. "You need to shower," she said. "Your father is stable for now. I'll call you if anything changes." I argued, but she was right. My clothes were stale. My eyes burned. I had been living on coffee, crackers, and fear. So I left. I showered quickly, changed, grabbed clean clothes for Dad, and drove back. Less than an hour. That was all Jennifer needed. When I entered Dad's room after seeing her in the hallway, he was asleep. His mouth was slightly open. His right hand rested on top of the blanket, limp and pale. There was a faint blue ink stain near his thumb. I stared at it. Then I noticed a thin sheet of paper left on the rolling tray. Maybe it was a copy. Maybe it was something Jennifer forgot. Most of it was legal language I didn't understand yet, but 3 words jumped out at me. Durable power of attorney. My stomach tightened. I didn't know all the details then, but I knew enough. That document could give Jennifer access to Dad's accounts, property, bills, and decisions. I walked to the nurse's station with the page trembling in my hand. "Was someone here with legal papers?" I asked. Stephanie glanced toward Dad's room, then back at me. Her expression changed. "There was a mobile notary," she said carefully. "A man named Brian. Your sister said it was urgent family paperwork. Did anyone check if my father understood what he was signing?" Her face went still. I wasn't in the room for the signing. Dad could barely stay awake. He couldn't say my name clearly. He didn't know what day it was. But somehow, while I was home washing hospital smell out of my hair, my sister had walked in with a notary and walked out with control over everything he owned. I called Jennifer from the parking lot. She answered on the 4th ring. "What did you make him sign?" I asked. She sighed. "I already told you. Paperwork. He can't understand paperwork right now. You're not a doctor. He had a stroke, Jennifer. And someone has to make adult decisions." I pressed my palm against my forehead. "Why didn't you talk to me first?" There was a pause. Then she said, "Because you would have made it emotional." That was the first real crack. Not the stroke. Not the hospital. Not even the document. It was the way she said emotional, like caring about our father made me weak. "What are you planning to do?" I asked. Jennifer's voice went flat. "What needs to be done?" Then she hung up. I stood there for a long time, listening to the deadline and telling myself I would fix it in the morning. I didn't know that by morning, she was already moving money. 3 weeks later, the hospital discharge coordinator called me about Dad's transfer. I had been pushing for a proper rehabilitation facility. Not anything fancy. Just a clean place with trained staff, physical therapy, and actual stroke care. The plan had been set. At least, I thought it had. A woman named Margaret called me from admissions. "I'm sorry," she said. "Your father's reservation was canceled." I sat up straight. "What do you mean canceled?" "The financial guarantor changed the placement." "My sister?" "Yes. Your father is being transferred to Briar Hill Care Center." For a second, I couldn't speak. Briar Hill wasn't a real rehabilitation facility. It was the kind of place families chose when they had no money, no options, or no one left willing to fight. "That's not where he's supposed to go," I said. "I understand," Margaret replied, with the tired voice of someone who had said that too many times. "But the paperwork authorizes your sister to make the decision." I hung up and tried logging into Dad's online banking. Password incorrect. I tried again. Locked. I called the bank. They wouldn't speak to me. So I drove straight to Dad's house. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't even large. But it was his. A small brick house with a porch light he always forgot to turn off and a maple tree in the front yard that dropped leaves all over the driveway every fall. When I pulled up, there was a sign on the lawn. For sale. Not a polished sign from a major real estate office. A cheap, bright one from a hardware store, pushed crooked into the grass. I parked so fast my tires scraped the curb. The front door lock had been changed. I knocked anyway. No answer. I walked around to the side window and looked in. The living room was empty. Not messy. Not packed. Empty. The old couch was gone. The bookshelves were gone. The framed photos were gone. The dining table where Dad used to sit with crossword puzzles was gone. I pressed my hand against the glass and felt my breath leave me. Jennifer hadn't just taken control. She had erased him. I called her 10 times. No answer. I texted her. "Where is Dad's furniture?" Nothing. "Where are his accounts?" Nothing. "Why is his house for sale?" Nothing. By the time I reached Briar Hill, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my keys. The building sat near the edge of an industrial road, wedged between a storage lot and a closed auto shop. The lobby smelled like bleach trying and failing to cover something sour underneath. A television blared in the corner. No one was watching it. I found Dad in a shared room near the back. He was in a wheelchair, facing a wall. His shirt was too big. It wasn't his. There was dried food near the collar. One of his slippers was missing. For a moment, I couldn't move. Then Dad made that little clicking sound with his tongue. The sound he made when he was scared. I knelt in front of him. "Dad," I whispered. "I'm here." His eyes shifted toward me, cloudy and confused. He didn't smile. He didn't say my name. He just stared like he was trying to find me through fog. I went to the nurse's station and asked when he had last been changed, when he had eaten, and when physical therapy would begin. No one had clear answers. One aide shrugged and said, "We're short-staffed." I walked outside before I lost control inside the building. Jennifer finally answered when I called from the parking lot. "What did you do?" I said. She exhaled loudly. "Lower your voice. Dad is sitting in a dirty room wearing someone else's clothes. He's being cared for." "No. He's being stored." "That's dramatic." "You sold his house." "I managed an asset." "You emptied his life." "I did what made financial sense." I gripped the phone so tightly my fingers hurt. "Where is his money?" Jennifer went quiet for half a second. Then she said, "His long-term care is expensive." "You have no idea what you're talking about. You put him in the cheapest place you could find." "I put him somewhere sustainable." "Sustainable for who?" Her voice hardened. "I have power of attorney." "You don't. If you want him somewhere better, pay for it yourself." Then she hung up. Within an hour, she blocked me. Phone, social media, email, everything. A few weeks later, our cousin Nicole sent me a screenshot. Jennifer had posted a photo downtown, standing in front of a new black SUV with a giant bow on it. She wore sunglasses, expensive boots, and the same effortless smile everyone loved. The caption said, "Hard work finally pays off." I stared at the picture until my eyes burned. Behind that smile, I saw Dad's empty living room. Behind that SUV, I saw his missing slipper. That was the moment my grief turned cold. I tried to fight her legally. I gathered everything I could. Hospital notes. Timestamps. Bank access issues. The date on the power of attorney. Photos of Dad's condition. Screenshots of Jennifer's posts. The listing for Dad's house. The sale records I could find through public property searches. Then I met with lawyers. The first one listened for 20 minutes and frowned. The second one asked for more documents. The third one, Elizabeth, was the most honest. She sat across from me in a small office with a wall of legal books behind her and said, "I believe you." I almost cried from hearing that. Then she continued, "But believing you and proving it in court are very different things." She explained the problem. Dad's medical records clearly showed severe impairment after the stroke. But the formal note stating he lacked capacity for financial decisions had been entered days after the power of attorney was signed. That gap mattered. Jennifer had used that gap like a door. She moved fast, Elizabeth said. She waited until I left the hospital. I understand. He didn't know what he was signing. I understand that too. So we can stop her? Elizabeth looked down at the file. We can challenge it. But it will be expensive. It may take a long time. And if she has already spent or moved the money, recovering it could be difficult. How expensive? She gave me a number that made my throat close. I didn't have that kind of money. I worked in credit risk. I understood financial statements, loan files, cash flow, and how people tried to hide bad numbers behind clean formatting. I made a decent living, but not enough to fund a long legal fight against my sister. Jennifer knew that. That was why she had sounded so calm on the phone. She wasn't stronger than me. She was faster. And she had taken the money before I could use it to stop her. So I did the only thing I could do. I kept Dad alive. Every week, I went to Briar Hill. I brought clean clothes and labeled them with permanent marker so they wouldn't disappear. I brought soft food he could swallow more easily. I paid for extra therapy sessions when I could. I bought lotion for his dry hands. I trimmed his nails. I brushed his hair. Sometimes he looked at me and smiled faintly. Sometimes he cried without sound. Sometimes he stared through me like I was part of the wall. Those were the worst days, because even when he didn't know me, I knew him. I knew he would have hated this. Dad had spent his whole life being careful with money because he never wanted to become dependent on anyone. He had built a modest retirement. He had maintained his house. He had planned for emergencies in quiet, responsible ways. Jennifer turned all of that into a launch fund. Her online boutique grew quickly after Dad's accounts were drained. New website. New packaging. New photo shoots. New downtown condo. New posts about success. Meanwhile, I was standing in a discount store at 9 p.m. comparing prices on adult bibs and socks with grips on the bottom. Our relatives noticed Jennifer's glow-up. They congratulated her. Aunt Barbara commented, "So proud of the woman you've become." Uncle Joseph wrote, "Your father would be proud." I almost threw my phone across the room. But I stayed quiet. Not because I forgave her. Because I had nothing strong enough yet. For almost a year and a half, Jennifer lived like she had won. She had the money. The car, the condo, the business, the family sympathy, the legal document. I had Dad, or what was left of him. Then one morning, while I was at work, a message popped up on my phone. Jennifer had unblocked me. I stared at the screen before opening it. "Hey, I know things have been tense, but we're still sisters. I'm expanding the boutique into a real storefront, and I'm applying for a commercial loan. You work with credit files, right? Can you look over my numbers before I send them in? I just want to make sure nothing gets flagged." I read it once. Then again. Jennifer didn't miss me. She needed me. And she had no idea what she had just offered. I didn't answer right away. I placed my phone face down on my desk and tried to breathe normally. Jennifer had ignored me for nearly 2 years. She had blocked me after dumping our father in a neglected facility. She had let me spend my own money trying to keep him comfortable while she built a business with money that never belonged to her. Now she wanted help. Not an apology. Not a conversation. Help. I waited 10 minutes before replying. "Send me what you have. I can review it tonight." Her response came almost instantly. "Knew I could count on you." I stared at those words for a long time. No, I thought. You really don't. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and a cup of coffee going cold beside me. Jennifer had sent everything. Business bank statements. Internal sales reports. Tax filings. Profit and loss summaries. Loan application drafts. Personal financial statements. Lease projections. She had sent me her whole financial life because she thought I was still the little sister who would clean up her mess and be grateful for the chance. The first few pages looked impressive. Revenue growth. Strong deposits. Expanding customer base. Healthy margins. Exactly the kind of story a lender wants to see. But numbers have a rhythm. Clean businesses have patterns. Good months. Slow months. Seasonal bumps. Refunds. Inventory swings. Payment processor delays. Jennifer's numbers didn't breathe. Large deposits appeared at strange intervals, then got split and reclassified. Some were recorded as retail sales even though they didn't match customer volume. Several deposits were too round, too consistent, too disconnected from actual transactions. I leaned closer. Then I saw one amount that made my stomach drop. It matched part of Dad's house proceeds. Not close. Exact. I opened another statement. Another transfer. Another match. Jennifer hadn't just stolen Dad's money and spent it. She had fed it into her boutique and dressed it up as revenue. On paper, her business looked like it was exploding. In reality, she had been pouring Dad's savings into it and calling it sales. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. For nearly 2 years, I had imagined Jennifer as careful. Ruthless, yes. Cruel, yes. But careful. She wasn't. She was arrogant. The deeper I went, the worse it got. She had moved money through personal accounts, business accounts, and side accounts she clearly didn't think anyone would connect. Some proceeds from Dad's house sale were missing from the places they should have appeared. Some business reports showed income that wasn't supported by actual customer records. And now she was planning to send those documents to a lender. A lender that would rely on them to decide whether to give her hundreds of thousands of dollars. That changed everything. This wasn't just family betrayal anymore. It was financial misrepresentation. It was the kind of file that made underwriters stop talking and start calling compliance. Jennifer messaged me around midnight. So, how bad is it? I looked at the screen. For one moment, I thought about warning her. I thought about typing, "You're in trouble. Fix this. Give Dad's money back. Move him to a real facility. Tell the truth before someone else finds it." Then I remembered Dad sitting in that wheelchair. I remembered his shirt stained with food. I remembered Jennifer saying, "If you want him somewhere better, pay for it yourself." So I typed carefully. The file tells a strong story. If everything you provided is accurate, you should submit it as is. But don't use a slow bank if you're trying to move fast. She replied, "Who should I use?" I gave her the name of a private commercial lender known for fast decisions and deep reviews. Harborline Secured Lending. My former mentor, Andrew, worked there as a senior risk officer. He was brilliant, calm, and merciless with bad documentation. Jennifer sent 3 heart emojis. Then she wrote, "You're finally being a sister again." I closed my laptop. No, I was finally being my father's daughter. The next morning, Jennifer called me. I almost didn't answer, but I needed to know how far she was willing to go. "Amy," she said brightly, like the last 2 years had been a silly misunderstanding. "This lender you recommended. They're legit?" "They're thorough," I said. "Very thorough." "Good. I want this done quickly." "The storefront won't stay available forever." "What storefront?" She launched into the details. A high-visibility space downtown. Big windows. Expensive foot traffic. The kind of place she had been bragging about online for months. She talked about it like it was already hers. "I just need the loan approved," she said. "Once the expansion opens, I'll be untouchable." That word stayed with me. Untouchable. Jennifer thought money made her safe. She thought a legal document made her right. She thought Dad's silence meant consent. "Have you signed anything yet?" I asked. "Not the lease. The landlord wants a serious deposit." "How serious?" $80,000. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I said, "A lender will want to see commitment. If you're confident in your numbers and you want them to take the expansion seriously, an executed lease and deposit receipt can strengthen the application." That wasn't a lie. It also wasn't mercy. Jennifer hummed thoughtfully. "So I should do it." "I'm saying serious lenders like serious applicants." She laughed. "Look at you. Finally useful." There it was. The real Jennifer. Not the grieving daughter. Not the hardworking entrepreneur. Not the misunderstood older sister. Just Jennifer. Cold, vain, and certain everyone else existed to support her story. 2 days later, she texted me a screenshot. Lease signed. Deposit wired. Application submitted. I stared at the confirmation page. $80,000 had gone into a non-refundable commercial deposit. Her inflated revenue was attached. Her unexplained deposits were attached. Her personal financial statement was attached. Her own fingerprints were on every page. I didn't have to exaggerate anything. I didn't have to forge anything. I didn't have to invent a trap. Jennifer built it herself. I only stopped her from walking around it. That weekend, I opened every document Jennifer had sent me and started building the file. Not a revenge rant. Not a dramatic letter. A clean report. Dates. Amounts. Account names. Property records. Medical timeline. Facility transfer records. Loan application inconsistencies. I connected Dad's stroke to the signing date. I showed the formal incapacity note came shortly after the power of attorney. I attached the public property sale information. I traced the timing of deposits that matched the house proceeds and retirement withdrawals. I compared Jennifer's claimed business revenue against the movement of Dad's money. I wrote like I was reviewing the most dangerous loan file of my life. By Sunday night, my eyes burned, my back hurt, and my table was covered in printed pages, sticky notes, and empty coffee cups. The final PDF was not emotional. That was what made it powerful. Jennifer could talk her way around tears. She could twist anger. She could charm relatives. She could make me sound bitter. But she couldn't smile her way out of arithmetic. On Monday morning, I sent the report through formal channels. One copy went to Harborline Secured Lending, with supporting documentation attached. I stated that the applicant's submitted financials appeared to include misclassified funds connected to an elderly person under questionable authority. One copy went to the proper tax reporting office because the business records and filings did not appear to match. One copy went to Adult Protective Services, with the care facility records, the timeline, and the documents showing how quickly Dad's life had been liquidated after his stroke. Then I waited. For 3 days, nothing happened. Jennifer posted a photo of herself inside the empty storefront, standing in the middle of the polished floor with her arms spread wide. Next chapter loading, the caption said. I looked at the picture and felt nothing. On the 4th day, she called me. I let it ring twice before answering. Did you say something to Harborline? She demanded. My heart was pounding, but my voice stayed calm. Why? They're asking weird questions. What kind of questions? About source of funds. About transfers. About why some deposits don't match sales reports. I said nothing. Her breathing sharpened. Amy. What? Did you tell them anything? I looked at the framed photo on my shelf. Dad at a park years ago, squinting in the sun, holding a paper cup of lemonade. You submitted the application, Jennifer. No. You did something. I let the silence answer for me. She hung up. After that, everything moved slowly at first, then all at once. Harborline denied the loan. Not delayed. Denied. They flagged the application and reported concerns through the proper channels. The landlord kept the deposit because Jennifer had signed the agreement herself. She fought it, but the lease terms were clear. Mark, the property manager, sent one firm email and stopped responding. Then her business accounts were reviewed. Then restricted. Then her tax filings became a problem. Then the relatives started hearing whispers. Not the full truth, of course. Jennifer gave them her version first. She said I was jealous. She said I had always hated her success. She said I had used my banking knowledge to sabotage a hardworking woman's dream. She did not say Dad's money was in her business. She did not say she moved him to Briar Hill. She did not say she sold his house while he was still struggling to speak. Aunt Barbara called me first. What did you do? She snapped. I told the truth. You ruined your sister. She ruined herself. She is family. So is Dad. There was a pause. Then she said, your father wouldn't want this. I looked around my apartment at the stack of receipts from Dad's care. Clothes. Food. Therapy. Supplies. Things Jennifer should have paid for with his own money. You don't get to use him against me, I said. She hung up. Uncle Joseph sent a longer message. He called me vindictive. Calculated. Cold. He said family issues should stay inside the family. I almost replied. Then I remembered every time I had begged for help and no one came. So I blocked him. Months passed. The investigation didn't turn into some dramatic movie scene. Real life is quieter than that. More paperwork. More letters. More calls from lawyers. More doors refusing to open. Jennifer lost the storefront first. Then the SUV. Then the condo. The boutique stayed online for a little while, limping on discounts and desperate posts about unexpected setbacks. But customers noticed delayed shipping. Vendors noticed unpaid invoices. Lenders noticed risk. Platforms noticed disputes. Eventually, the business went quiet. No grand announcement. No apology. Just silence. The call came on a Thursday evening. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. For a few seconds, all I heard was breathing. Then Jennifer's voice broke through, raw and shaking. I know it was you. I sat at my kitchen table, one hand around a mug of tea I hadn't touched. Jennifer. They had everything, she said. The transfers. The reports. The house sale. The deposits. Things only you would understand. I didn't respond. My accounts are wrecked. My business is gone. I had to sell the condo. The car is gone. I'm staying on someone's couch. Her voice cracked. You destroyed my life. I looked down at my hands. For a strange second, I expected to feel something big. Satisfaction. Guilt. Fear. But all I felt was tired. You left Dad in Briar Hill, I said. She made a sharp sound. Don't act like this was about him. It was always about him. No, she snapped. It was about you finally getting to punish me. Maybe part of that was true. I won't pretend I was pure. I wanted her exposed. I wanted the smile wiped off her face. I wanted every person who praised her success to see what it was built on. But I also wanted my father safe. And those two things were tied together because Jennifer made them tied. You took his house, I said. You took his savings. You put him in a place where no one treated him like a human being. I did what I had to do. No, I said quietly. You did what you wanted to do. She started crying harder. I'm your sister. I closed my eyes. That sentence had been used like a weapon for too long. You were his daughter, I said. She went silent. Then I added, enjoy the couch. And I hung up. The next morning, I drove to Willowmere Rehabilitation Center. After the reports, the court process finally started moving. Not perfectly. Not magically. But enough. The power of attorney was challenged. An independent person was appointed to review Dad's care and remaining resources. Adult Protective Services documented the conditions at Briar Hill. His placement was changed. Willowmere wasn't a palace. It was clean, bright, staffed, human. The first time I walked in, I nearly cried because the hallway didn't smell like neglect. It smelled like soap and laundry. There were paintings on the walls. A nurse at the front desk knew Dad's name before I said it. He had a good breakfast, she told me. He's by the window. By the window. Not facing a wall. Not parked in a corner. By the window. I found him in a soft chair with a blanket over his legs, watching birds move through the courtyard outside. His hair was combed. His shirt fit. His hands were clean. I sat beside him and opened the peach yogurt I had brought. Hi, Dad, I said. He turned toward me slowly. His eyes were still cloudy. The stroke had taken so much from him. Most days, I don't think he knows I'm his daughter. Sometimes he looks at me like I am familiar, but far away, like a song he almost remembers. I lifted the spoon to his mouth. He ate slowly. A little yogurt stayed at the corner of his lip. I wiped it away with a napkin. Then his hand moved. It trembled, but he reached for me. His fingers touched my wrist. And he smiled. Not a big smile. Not the old smile. But enough. I had spent almost 2 years thinking justice would feel loud. I thought it would feel like a slammed door, a final insult, a victory I could hold in both hands. It didn't. It felt like a quiet room, a clean shirt, a nurse who knew his name, and my father's hand resting weakly against my wrist. That was enough. The family still thinks I went too far. Aunt Barbara says I should have handled it privately. Uncle Joseph says blood is blood. A few cousins say Jennifer made mistakes, but I destroyed her future. Maybe they're right about one thing. I did destroy the future she built. But she built it out of our father's house. His savings. His care. His dignity. And when she handed me the proof, I didn't protect her from the consequences. I protected him. Was I wrong for using what I knew to expose my own sister, or did she finally get exactly what she deserved?